20, Presentation Layer, Misconceptions, Busted. What's going on, everyone? It's Sam here, and today we're diving deep into the world of computer networks. Specifically, we're taking a closer look at the often misunderstood presentation layer of the OSI model. If you've ever sent an email, watched a video online, or even just connected two devices, then you've relied on the presentation layer. Think of the OSI model as the blueprint for network communication. It's a framework that helps different systems communicate seamlessly. It's divided into 7 layers, each with a specific function, kind of like a well-coordinated team. Each layer has its own role but works together to ensure smooth communication. Now, the presentation layer is like the interpreter of this team, ensuring that everyone speaks the same language. It translates data into a format that the application layer can understand. It takes data from the application layer, which is where you interact with software, and prepares it for transmission over the network. This preparation is crucial for data integrity and security. This involves things like data encryption, compression, and formatting. These processes ensure that data is secure, efficient, and compatible across different systems. And just like with any tech, there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding the presentation layer. We're here to clear those up and give you a better understanding. Let's get started. First up, let's address the misconception that the presentation layer is responsible for routing data packets. Many people often get this wrong, thinking that the presentation layer has a hand in directing traffic. This is a common mistake, but it's important to remember that routing is actually handled by the network layer, which sits below the presentation layer in the OSI model. The network layer is the true traffic controller, ensuring data packets find their way. The presentation layer is more like the gift wrapping department, making sure your data looks presentable before it heads out the door. It formats and encrypts data, ensuring it's in the right shape and form for the recipient. Another misconception is that the presentation layer only deals with data encryption. While encryption is a key function of this layer, it's not the only one. The presentation layer also handles data compression, which helps reduce the size of data for faster transmission. It also takes care of data conversion, ensuring that different systems with different data formats can communicate with each other. Now, some people believe that the presentation layer is responsible for establishing a connection between two devices. However, this task actually falls under the responsibility of the session layer, which sits just above the presentation layer. The session layer manages the connection between devices, while the presentation layer focuses on preparing the data for that connection. Chapter 4, Myth 4. The least important layer? Definitely not. There's a misconception that the presentation layer is the least important layer in the OSI model. This couldn't be further from the truth. Without the presentation layer, data would be sent over the network in a chaotic and incompatible mess. It's the unsung hero that ensures seamless communication between different systems and applications. Chapter 5, Myth 5, Text-based data only? Too limiting. Some people assume that the presentation layer only deals with text-based data. However, this layer is capable of handling various data types, including images, audio, and video. Chapter 6, Myth 6. Always compressing data? Not quite. Contrary to popular belief, the presentation layer isn't always responsible for data compression. Compression is actually optional and depends on the specific application and network requirements. In some cases, compressing data can improve network performance by reducing the amount of data that needs to be transmitted. Chapter 7, Myth 7, Wired Networks. Only? Think bigger. There's a misconception that the presentation layer is only used in wired networks. In reality, the presentation layer is essential for both wired and wireless networks. Chapter 8, Myth 8. Operating solo? Not a chance. Contrary to what some might think, the presentation layer doesn't operate independently of other layers in the OSI model. It relies heavily on the layers below it for data transmission and interacts closely with the application layer above it for data presentation. Chapter 9, Myth 9, Sender-centric. It's all about compatibility. It's a common misconception that the presentation layer is only concerned with the sender's data format. In reality, the presentation layer plays a crucial role in ensuring compatibility between the sender's and receiver's data formats. Chapter 10, Myth 10, Sole Security Guard? Not even close. While the presentation layer handles data encryption, it's not the only layer involved in network security. Other layers, like the session and network layers, also contribute to security in different ways. Chapter 11, Myth 11, Error Control? That's not my job. However, error control is primarily handled by the data link and transport layers, which sit below the presentation layer in the OSI model. Chapter 12, Myth 12, Always the sixth layer? Not set in stone. While the presentation layer is typically the sixth layer in the OSI model, the order of layers can vary in some implementations. Chapter 13, Myth 13, Complex Networks. Only? Think again. The presentation layer is used in all types of networks, from simple to complex. Chapter 14, Myth 14, The Slowest Layer? It depends. The speed of the presentation layer depends on several factors, such as the processing power of the devices involved and the complexity of the data being processed. Chapter 15, Myth 15, Human-readable data only? Too restrictive. In reality, the presentation layer handles both human-readable and machine-readable data. For example, when you view a website, the presentation layer handles the formatting of the text, images, and other elements that you see in your web browser. Chapter 16, Myth 16, Data segmentation? Wrong department. It's a common misconception that the presentation layer is responsible for data segmentation. However, data segmentation is actually handled by the transport layer, which sits below the presentation layer in the OSI model. Chapter 17, Myth 17, A recent addition? Think again. Some people believe that the presentation layer is a recent addition to the OSI model. However, the presentation layer has been a core part of the OSI model since its inception in the 1980s. Contrary to popular belief, the presentation layer isn't limited to specific applications. It's used in a wide range of applications, including web browsing, email, file transfer, video streaming, online gaming, and many more. It's a common misconception that the presentation layer and the application layer are the same thing. While they are closely related and work together, they are distinct layers with different functionalities. Finally, some people believe that the presentation layer is no longer relevant in modern networking. This couldn't be further from the truth. The presentation layer remains crucial for ensuring interoperability and data compatibility in today's increasingly diverse and complex network environments. So, there you have it. 20 common misconceptions about the presentation layer debunked. We hope this has shed some light on the often misunderstood aspects of this crucial layer. As we've seen, the presentation layer plays a vital role in network communication, ensuring that data is properly formatted and understood by different systems. It's the unsung hero that often goes unnoticed, but without it, network communication would be a chaotic mess. It ensures seamless data exchange and maintains the integrity of the information being transferred. From encryption and compression to data conversion and formatting, the presentation layer handles a wide range of tasks that are essential for modern networking. These processes are critical for maintaining security and efficiency in data transmission. This has been another quirky presentation by Sam. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you found this information both enlightening and useful.